Hello there. This is where we're beginning today's walk. It's a place that I can't pronounce. It's spelt Chatelherault or something like that, but I believe you pronounce it in a different way. And I suppose I should really have started the walk at a place that I was able to pronounce. But nevertheless, we're here and we've got a lovely misty start to the day. It's beautiful. Just outside Hamilton, in Hamilton south of Glasgow, and when you look at a map, the whole area, Greater Glasgow, between Glasgow and Hamilton, it just looks like a big urban sprawl, and you might wonder where on earth you could go for a nice little walk amongst all that stuff. Well, we're going to walk by water. We're following the Avon water, which is just at the back of the building here, until it joins with the River Clyde, at what point we'll follow the Clyde walkway in the direction of Bothwell. So that's the plan. Let's go. You can see Chatelherault in the top right of Google's satellite view. From there, we follow paths towards the old Avon Bridge and enter Strathclyde Country Park. I had intended to then follow the Clyde walkway as the winding river skirts Bothwell, but as you'll see, things didn't quite work out that way, and I spent a while in Bothwell itself. From there, we cross the river to the David Livingstone Centre and cross back over to Bothwell Castle. If I'm honest, Strathclyde Park's a wee bit boring. There, I've said it. You're sort of hemmed in between the loch on the right, the unseen River Clyde on the left, and a very noisy motorway on the left, and it all just feels a bit tedious. Just after, before you hit the park here, just after the forest of toadstools, you might wonder which way to go, and there's a kind of underpass that goes under, I think it must go under the motorway towards the Hamilton Mausoleum. By all means have a look at the mausoleum, but at that point you're going to cross over the River Clyde. You'll see a footbridge, and that'll take you into Strathclyde Country Park and all this tediousness. And when you look at a map, you might wonder what happens at the end of the water here, because the path seems to, it's a very confusing picture with motorways and roads and flyovers and unders, and it's almost impossible to properly read the map, or at least the Land Ranger Ordnance Survey map. So I'm kind of playing it by ear here. I know I've got the River Clyde on my left, and essentially that's what I'm going to be following. But to be honest, it would be nice to get away from the constant drone of cars on the motorway there, and I will be quite glad to get out of this park. I'm not convinced that anybody that's dawdling on the track here is actually enjoying themselves. The dogs are enjoying themselves, but the people I'm not so sure about.
In Bothwell, crowds lined the streets to cheer me on, the sole survivor of a monstrous motoring melee. Actually, my arrival had coincided with the town's annual Scarecrow Festival, an event guaranteed to make you smile. I was glad of the navigational blunder that brought me into Bothwell. For in the old parish church is a monument to 18th century poet and playwright Joanna Baillie, and it has to be seen to be believed. Every one of those little glass tessera used in the images was put in by hand. Truly astounding.
Well, this is the David Livingstone Centre in Blantyre. It is in fact closed just now. It's going through a major renovation, and I'm sure when it's finished it'll be even better than it was before. So check the internet for when it's open. I'll certainly be coming along and paying it a visit when it is. Most of the site's closed off just now because of the work that's going on. But this is a big statue that depicts a moment in David Livingstone's life when, in Africa, it wasn't in Blantyre, a lion decided to have a bit of a chew at his arm. Bit of a sore one, I would imagine. Getting here from Strathclyde Country Park was not easy. when you get to the end of Strathclyde Country Park, you're faced with an absolute nightmare of roads. It's a kind of spaghetti junction of motorways and major roads, and it's almost impossible to find your way and trying to figure out how to get here. Essentially you're following the River Clyde, but there isn't a path. You know, at one time I thought there was a track or a path called the Clyde Walkway, and I dare say there still is in places a path that goes under that name, but in some places that there isn't. You know, it doesn't go all the way. It just seems to kind of grind to a halt, or it's closed down, or whatever. It's any number of different reasons why it's not there, and you can't follow the river. But anyway, when you get to the sort of end of Strathclyde Country Park, I eventually found myself in a little area with an express holiday hotel thing, and I think it was a Toby Carvery eating place. And from there, as I say, it's just a nightmare as far as roads are concerned, and they're still building roads, I think. But if you look out for a cycleway, there's a cycleway that's marked. Look for the sign, and if you somehow can pick that up, and eventually you'll find paths, signs rather, pointing towards Bothwell, and that's the way you have to go. This is in Blantyre. We've just kind of left Bothwell, in fact. But and you'll find yourself that track, the cycleway, will take you over a number of. They look as if they're brand spanking new. Sort of cycle, walk, flyovers, if that's the word. That'll take you over all the roads, and it's almost impossible to describe the way to go, and you're very much on your own. If you can. It is worth, with any luck you'll eventually arrive in Bothwell, and it's quite a nice place. There are a few interesting things to see in the village or the town, or whatever it is. And from there, just ask somebody as to where the suspension bridge over the River Clyde is, leading to the David Livingstone Centre. And with any luck you'll end up here. But as I say, you're on your own. There's a lot of scope for losing your way and ending up miles from anywhere else. One important thing to say about this whole area is, I mean, David Livingstone was born here in the house just over there, and at one time it was a massive mill and model village complex on a very large scale that it must have rivaled New Lanark, which still exists today. But unfortunately this one here was demolished around about the beginning of the 20th century, 1910 or thereabouts, and there's practically nothing left. I'll show you some maps that you'll see the extent of the whole complex and how it's gradually disappeared, and all that we're left with now is essentially the small row of what would have been houses in which Livingstone was born.
In the first Ordnance Survey map dating to 1859, you can see buildings coloured red. There's the rectangular form of the model village near the foot, and the many mills in the bend of the river above. In 1897, not a lot has changed, except the buildings on the map are no longer coloured red. But by 1910, most of those mills have gone, and by 1936, so too have the houses. On looking at the site today, it's very hard to imagine what it all must have looked like in its heyday. And it's only when we see contemporary images of the whole complex that we truly understand the enormity of what was once here and of what we now have lost.
I've always had slightly paranoid thoughts that a squad of scaffolders was following me about the country. In particular when I visit old buildings, like castles and what have you. So clearly they've had advance warning of me coming here, and they've, as you can see, set up the scaffolding. Well, this is Bothwell Castle, and this is where we end today's walk. In my old blue guide to Scotland, the castle is said to be the finest 13th century castle in Scotland, and I'm sure that's still the case today. I had thought that today's walk would have been a riverside walk, initially following the Avon Water and then the River Clyde on the Clyde walkway, or whatever it's called, but it just didn't quite work out like that, and I ended up on far too many occasions flapping around, for want of a better term, amidst seriously busy roads and motorways and things that still seem to be under construction while I was there. How I got here, how I got to the David Livingstone Centre, I'm not entirely sure, and as I think I said earlier, you're pretty much on your own out there. If you can find these places, good luck to you. But as I say, follow cycleways after the Strathclyde Country Park in the direction of Bothwell, and then sort of feel your way from there. So anyway, I'm Eddie Burns. That was a walk from a place that I still can't quite pronounce, and ending here at Bothwell Castle, a much more sensible name that's easy to get your tongue around. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again.